In this lesson, we are looking into composite and inverse functions. We are going to look into the concept of the composite and inverse functions, and we're going to learn how to substitute value into composite functions, and we're going to learn how to find the inverse, and we're going to learn how to solve problems that include both composite and inverse functions. So a lot of algebra today, so be warned. As a bit of starter, can I ask you have a go question 1, A and B, and question 2. Whenever you're ready, you can press play for the answers. Here are the answers. Substituting numbers into functions is a big part of inverse and composite functions. Therefore, you must know this before moving on to the inverse composite functions. So let's go through some definition of composite function and inverse function, give you a bit of notes how to work them out. So composite function is formed by combining two functions, f of x and g of x. So we usually call the first function using f, and then the second one is g, and the third one h, and then go on in alphabetical order, in a way that the output of one function becomes the input of another. Well, sounds very complicated, isn't it? So in simple words, you're going to substitute one function into another. It is denoted as f of g of x. We call this f of g of x. Now, why is it a name? Now, if you notice, fx is called f of x. So inside you have g of x, but there's the function of g of x. Okay, so you can think of it like a person. Okay, you are jumping into a costume, a suit. Let's say I don't know how to draw a costume. So that's the headgear, and then that's the I don't know, the weird costume, whatever costume you are, and then there's the feet. But we'll call it ice cream man. Anyway, so you're gonna jump into this. So in the f of g of x, which part is the person, which part is the suit? Well, the person, which you are going to substitute into the costume, is the inside part. So remember, when you go into the costume, the inside is the person. So that's the person. So there's the person. And the F is the, well, costume. Okay, the ice cream man. Right, so together, it becomes the unbeatable ice cream delicious man. Anyway, right, next one. So what's an inverse function then? An inverse function denoted as f of minus 1. You can see minus 1 there, x. So this is called inverse of x. To find the inverse, now this is the key takeaway notes. These three. First of all, you're going to replace f of x with y. So you get y equal something. And then you're going to make x a subject, second step. So x equals da 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 da. And the third step is to change the y into x and rewrite the whole thing as the inverse of f of x equals something with x. We'll go through that in a bit later. First of all, let's look at composite. Example number 1. Given f of x equals 3x minus 1 and g of x equals 2x squared, find f of g of x and g of f of x. So let's go through one by one. So let's go through f of g of x first. Now f of g of x, this is u, okay, and that's the costume. So you're going to substitute yourself into the costume. Now, f is 3x minus 1. So that's the costume. So where can you replace yourself in the costume? You're going to replace the x. So whenever you see an x, that means that's your place to jump into the suit. Okay, costume is not easy thing to put on. I'm not sure if you have tried any, like if you look at it, go in Disneyland, you see a lot of characters in there. Those costumes are not easy to come out or get in. Anyway, x is the opening. You're gonna jump in. So you're gonna keep the structure of f of x, because when you look from the outside, it should be the looking of the ice cream man. So that's the 3x, but this time it's not x because x is now u. U is 2x squared minus 1. So you can see we've replaced x with 2x squared. We're going to just expand the bracket, so 6x squared minus 1, and that's the answer. Okay, now let's try on the other hand. What about g of f of x? This time, f of x is u. So that's u. And that's the costume. So our final answer should have the structure of the costume. So 2x squared. So that means 2 something squared. F of x is 3x minus 1, so the 3x minus 1 will now go into the position of x. 3x minus 1. So we're gonna, now this one is a, so which one goes first? Well, there's a bracket, there's power, there's multiplying. The index will go first, the bracket, because the bracket actually linked with the 2, so the 2 is just multiplying. So we'll go to the square. Square means double bracket, so 3x minus 1 squared. Now I did mention how to expand, what's the shortcut of expanding double bracket before. I'll just go through it. If you don't know it, you don't have to know it. You can just expand it manually. The shortcut is square these two terms separately. So square that. 3x is 9x squared. Square minus 1 is plus 1. To find the middle term, multiply the two terms together. 3x times 1 is 3x times 2. So multiply these two terms and then times it by 2. So 3x times 2 is 6x. Because it's a minus, so there'll be a minus 6x. So therefore, 2 bracket 9x squared minus 6x plus 1. And they can multiply 2 into it. So 18x squared minus 12x plus 2. And that will be the answer. So here comes practice question 1. Have a go with the question and find your ice cream man. And when you're ready for the answer, you can press play. Here are the answers. Question 1, A, quite similar to the example. Question B, slightly trickier, where it looks really awkward, where 3x, so just 3 times the f of x, x squared minus 1. G of f of 2 means you replace x with the 2, so we can see 3x squared minus 3. We're going to replace x by 2, and then bit mass, and work out 9. For C, f of x means, in terms of the concept of yourself at a costume, it's a bit awkward, it's a bit weird to think about this, but imagine you make a costume using your own body shape.
What?
So this is you, and you make a costume using, okay, we'll put face in it. So you make a big costume using your face, okay? You're gonna put yourself into your own costume. So f of x is 3x plus 4. We're gonna replace x with the 3x plus 4. So 3, not x anymore. So 3x plus 4 plus 4. Expand bracket, and then you get the answer. Next example, we are going to look into the inverse function. Now, if you don't remember the steps, you can go back to the notes bit, or I'll just paste it on here just to make it easier for us to refer to. So, to work with the inverse, first of all, we're going to replace f of x with y. So you can see f of x equals 4x plus 2. So question A, the first step, I'm going to replace f of x as y. So that's my first step. Next step, I'm going to make x a subject. So I'm going to make x a subject. So moving forward, I want to make x the subject. Make x a subject means you want to write as x equals something. So x has to be on the one side of the equal sign, isolated. So plus 2, we're going to move left hand side, becomes minus 2. So y minus 2 equals 4x. And then to get rid of the 4, we divide by 4. So y minus 2 over 4 equals x. Now, personal preference, I don't like x be on the right hand side, so I'm going to put the subject on the left hand side. So flip the side. Okay, so that's how we make x subject in here. Next, last step, change y to x. So that means this y should be an x, and rewrite the whole thing as f of inverse of x. So the inverse of f of x equals, so rewrite this, but instead of writing y, I'm going to write x, x minus 2 over 4. And that will be the answer. Okay, let's try part B. F of x equals 1 over x plus 1. First thing, replace it with y. Y equals 1 over x plus 1. I'm going to, now the question wants to find inverse of the inverse of f of 3. It means we want to find the function, the inverse function first, and then replace the 3 into it, and then the 3 into it. Okay, so anyway, we're looking to find the inverse function first. To get rid of x plus 1 denominator, we have no choice but to multiply left hand side. So y bracket x plus 1 equals 1. It really tests your understanding on whether you can make x a subject in different scenarios in here. If you don't remember how to make x a subject, make one subject, you can go back to either grade 5 topic, or there's another grade 7 rearranging harder formulae. Anyway, expand bracket, xy plus y equals 1. All I care is the x, so the y has to go on the right hand side. So xy equals 1 minus y. And then we divide the y over. So x equals 1 minus y over y. Next step, I'm going to replace, okay, so the inverse is 1 minus x over x. But that's not the end of it, because I need to find the inverse of 3. So once I find the inverse function, then the next step is the easiest. We're going to replace x with 3. So 1 minus 3 over 3. 1 minus 3 is minus 2, so negative 2/3 is the answer. Of course, this is your chance to show me that you understand things I've taught and for you to apply into questions. Have a go at a question. When you're ready for the answer, you can press play. So here are the answers. Question A, B, and C. If you got wrong, make sure you check your step by step, see what you've gone wrong. Now, part C is an interesting one. Mainly because some of you might have I'm not sure if you do have the question about, hang on, sir, when you square root, do you not have plus and minus? Where's the plus and minus in the front? Now, if you do have this question when you were doing this, well done to you. The reason that we don't have plus and minus is mainly because of what we call the domain and range. Now, this is not touched upon GCSE normal maths. If you are interested, you can go and do some research yourself, or you will actually learn in A-level maths or the GCSE further maths. Essentially, what it means is, I'll use a simple logic to explain to you. Okay, think of it like a keyboard. Okay, like a keyboard. Imagine you click a button. Let's say you've got a button Q in there. Okay, a button Q. If you press Q on the button, what do you expect to see on the screen when you type on word? A Q, right? So when you press Q, you expect Q. Now, what you can't have is, imagine you have a keyboard that you press Q, but it will either randomly give you a Q or an E. Now, that will be a bit weird, because if you press Q, you expect Q to come up. You do not expect another letter to come up. So imagine if you type the word queen, what happens is, when you press Q, you might get an E, so you might get U in, which is obviously not what you want, right? So essentially, that's what it means. It means when you have an answer in here, you expect only one answer coming out from this inverse function. You do not expect two answers. In a nutshell, concept-wise, I'm not going to go through details mathematically what happened in there, but that's the sort of concept we're looking into here. Next page, you've got question 3, 4, and 5. Have a go at the question. Last one, you can use a calculator. Have a go at the question. Whenever you finish or whenever you need help, just play the video. And when you're ready, you can just play. Now, here are the answers for question 3, 4, and 5. If you got wrong, you can listen to my explanation. But if you got right, well, then you can skip the video to the end. Enjoy the math joke. Right. So question 3. Okay. So what we need to do in here is, we're told g of f of x equals g of x. So first thing, we need to find what's g of f of x. G of f of x means we replace f of x we substitute f of x into g of x. So we keep the structure of g of x of 3 something minus 18. So that something is 5x plus 7. Expand the bracket, simplify, you should get 15x plus 3. Next, because we're told g of f of x equals g of x. So g of f of x is 15x plus 3 equals g of x is 3x minus 18. We just have to solve the equation. Bring the 3x left hand side, minus 15 minus 3 is 12x. Bring the 3 over right hand side, becomes negative 21. So x equals negative 21 divided by 12. If we simplify it, it gives you negative 7 over 4, which is the answer. Okay. Question 4. Given f of x equals kx plus 7, where k is a constant, and g of x equals 3x minus 12. Find the value of k if g of f of 1 equals 34. So this g of f gives away that you have to work out g of f of x. Now, there are two ways to work out this question. Okay, I'm just going to show you the first method first, which is the traditional one to find the g of f of x. So g is the costume, so I'm going to keep the structure of the answer. So 3 something minus 2, the something is kx plus 7. So expand the bracket, 3kx plus 21 minus 2, which is 3kx plus 19. Now, I'm told g of f of 1 equals 34. So g of f of 1 is 3 times k times 1 plus 19, which is 3k plus 19. Okay, so 1, you can replace x with 1 because you can just compare the position of the 1. You're replacing x with 1. We're also told this equals 34. So 3k plus 19 equals 34. Rearrange the bracket, 3k minus 19, so k equals 5. Okay. Now what's the other method? The other method is g of f of 1. Why don't we work out f of 1 first? So f of 1 is k times 1 plus 7, which is k plus 7. Next, I'm going to do g of f of 1. I'll keep the structure of g, 3 something minus 2, but this time the x we're going to replace with f of 1, which is k plus 7. So expand the bracket, 3k plus 21 minus 2, which is 3k plus 19. You see we end up in the same step. Okay, and then you can go on and finish it off, and k equals 5. Right, next one, question 5. Given that f of x equals x squared plus 5 and g of x equals x minus 4, solve f of g of x equals g inverse of g of x. So let's do it one by one. So let's work out f of g of x. So f is the costume. We keep the structure of f, so something squared plus 5. That something is g of x, which is x minus 4. This one is a square bracket, so we can use a shortcut to expand it, or if you don't, you can just do it manually, x minus 4 times x minus 4. I'm not going to do that. So that will give you x squared minus 8x plus 16. I'll go through a shortcut again if you do want to listen. Squared is x squared. Squared is 16. X times 4, 4x, and then times it by 2, minus 8x. Okay, and then plus 5. So it'll be x squared minus 8x plus 21. We also need to find the inverse of g of x. So the inverse of g of x is, to work out inverse, I need to replace that with y. So here we'll work out inverse. Okay, so y equal x minus 4. Make x a subject, y plus 4 equals x. Put x on the left hand side. Replace it with, this time not inverse of f, inverse of g of x equal x plus 4. All right. Next one, I need to make them equal because I was told f of g of x equals g inverse of g of x. So f of g of x, inverse of g of x. So make them equal. So x squared minus 8x plus 21 equals x plus 4. What does that mean? This means this is a quadratic equation. So what we need to do next step is to put everything on one side and make the other side equal 0. So x squared, bring over, minus 9x, bring it over, plus 17 equals 0. Now, can it be factorized? You can try, but I can guarantee it wouldn't. The question gives away the hints that you can't factorize it. Do you know which bit of the question gives away that? Well, essentially, give your answer in 3 significant figures. If the number is not integer or a nice fraction, chances are you can't factorize it. So use the quadratic formula. Okay, so quadratic formula is
x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
So your a value is 1, b value is minus 9, and c value is 17. So x equals, now it's a good habit to rewrite the formula using numbers. Negative b, so negative 9, or you can write just 9, minus makes a plus. But my habit is just write 2 minus, plus and minus. B, put a bracket, minus 9 squared, minus 4 times a times c over 2a. For a longer version on how to, if you want to practice quadratic formula, you can go back to the previous video about quadratic formula, or quadratic formula. Anyway, so x equals, you should get 6.30 or 2.70, and that will be the answer.